you guys might know me as Kid Bordeaux. If you've seen me around in the burlesque and drag realm, I perform. I'm performing tomorrow. Come see me. I'm so excited to be here tonight. I'm so excited to talk about something that I have ranted to many unwilling friends about. And now I have you guys, so that's great. So today we're going to be talking about how the Manic Pixie Dream Girl is a harmful trope to neurodivergent women and femme-presenting people. So let's get started on Ramona Flowers versus the world. So part one, let's get some definitions on the board. Who is a Manic Pixie Dream Girl? There we go. So according to the film critic Nathan Rabin, in a 2007 critique of Elizabethtown, right near Kentucky, he's the one who coined the term. He says that a Manic Pixie Dream Girl is a character who exists solely in the fevered imaginations of sensitive writer-directors to teach a broodingly soulful young man to embrace life and its infinite mysteries and adventures. All of your, Catcher in the Rye types, all of that, Scott Pilgrim. Later, Nathan Rabin has redacted this statement and has said that he regrets coining the term and has joined authors like John Green, for example, in a call to end the trope and to, quote, write better female characters. I agree. The Manic Pixie Dream Girl, while yes, it is a very gendered term, girl, in this presentation we are going to be using it to refer to people who are read as women by society. What I mean by that, for example, I am non-binary. I use they, them pronouns, but I know that when I step out into the world, I am often perceived as, especially in this outfit, as a woman. And so I'm treated as such. So that's what we mean by perceived as a woman. You get treated as a woman by society. Some trigger warnings up at the top. We will be talking extensively about sexism, ableism, and mental illness as pertains to the topic at hand. There will be brief mentions of sexual assault, eating disorders, and suicide. If that is something that you are not able to sit and listen to me talk about, there will be brief mentions, but by all means, do what you gotta do, go elsewhere. I'd much rather a smaller crowd than a very upset and sad crowd. So who counts as a Manic Pixie Dream Girl? Let's get examples, and I'm a visual learner, so let's do this. We've got Ramona Flowers. Title of the presentation, Scott Pilgrim, she's the classic. We've got the darker iteration of the Pixie, Marla Singer from Fight Club. Yeah, I heard a fan back there. We have Miss Penny Lane from Almost Famous, a very upsetting example of a Manic Pixie Dream Girl if you go back and watch that film. She was a teenager, she was a child, that whole film. It's really upsetting on a rewatch. Thank you, whoever's doing audience participation, thank you. We have Clementine from Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Miss Alyssa Jones from Chasing Amy in the Kevin Smith movie. Not even the lesbians are safe. We are all in danger. And we have Claire Colburn from Elizabethtown, the namesake of the term. So, what's the issue? Why am I talking about this? Why is it important? Why am I putting my English degree towards this? So the women in this trope only exist to impact the male protagonist, the male main character. She is just the love interest, that is all she is basically there for. She often has a mental illness or a trauma, not for the sake of representation or education on people who have these diagnoses or life experiences, but to make the male main character look kind, for loving her, for sleeping with her, for being involved with her in any way. I gotta start clicking this button earlier. There we go. She often has no purpose aside from pleasing the male main character, sleeping with him, leading him on a path of growth, letting him feel big and strong by fighting her 7 evil exes. You get the idea. And because of that, the plot ends and so does she. She fades to black. She doesn't get the epilogue to carry on because she's fulfilled her role and the character that we really cared about gets to move on to the sequel. And life unfortunately imitates art, so I'm going to throw up a quote from one of the great thinkers of our time, Schrodinger's dick. Y'all ever been Manic Pixie Dream Girl zoned? It's when you just want to be friends with a guy and he just wants you to heal him and make his life better. I skipped the slide, but let's talk about why that's important. Let's move on to women, autism, and the underdiagnosis problem. So some statistics for those less English majory. Out of all the women diagnosed, 80% of women with autism are undiagnosed by the age of 18. What that means, I see a few people nodding in the crowd, I found my people. So what that means is that we, because I've included myself in this, we go off into the world without this idea of why we feel so different than everybody else experiencing the things that we are going through. We don't know why we are having such a hard time just feeding ourselves once we're out in society. We don't understand why we're struggling with the things that should be simple. And that can be very harmful going forward in life, just trying to be a person. So why is it so underdiagnosed in women? What does autism in women and femme-presenting people look like? To begin with, on a more biological level, a lot of studies have shown, and I'll link all the articles at the end of my sources, a lot of studies talking about women with autism show that those born as women have a similar neurology to neurotypical men or boys in their development in their age group. So when you have a child, a female child with autism, and a neurotypical boy without autism, their development is similar. So people don't necessarily see what the issue is because she's acting just like all the boys. She's a tomboy. She's one of the guys. There's nothing wrong there.
Yes.
There we go. Women with autism are often very high masking. That can lead to burnout, it can lead to a lack of sense of self, and it can lead to suicidal ideation. Those with autism, not just women, but those with autism, often have difficulty adhering to social norms, be it personality-wise or aesthetically. Take Ramona Flowers, for example. She's got that monotone voice, that blunt way of speaking. Her hair changes color every scene you see her in. I have fried my hair with so much pink dye, y'all, like, it happens. And then, women with autism are also very easily sexually exploited. When you feel like an outcast because you can't communicate the way your peers are communicating, you end up taking any love you can get, any semblance of kindness, and it's hard to realize that you're falling into a trap, that you're about to be hurt. And so this happens a lot, and this can lead to a rise in suicidality. 66% of autistic adults report suicidality, and that number jumps to 71% in women. This is an article I found talking about a professor who works with, sorry about that.
Can you define suicidality?
Suicidality is defined as having suicidal ideation, suicidal thoughts. Thank you for that question. This was a professor who was working with school-age autistic women, and he was quoted saying, "When you feel you are too difficult to love, you'll settle for crumbs." Let me grab a drink, my allergies are kicking up. To quote another IP, another film, book, whatever, that is also very guilty of the Manic Pixie Dream Girl trope, perks of being a wallflower, we accept the love we think we deserve. And women with autism get trained to think that we don't deserve that much. So in walks Scott Pilgrim. Here comes the man. So when the ASD woman becomes the pixie, it is by how she is perceived. Autistic women and femmes often find themselves in relationships where there is simply an idea of a partner. Constantly, the man thinks he has discovered new parts of her, uncharted territory, but really, he just never cared to ask.
Ouch, ouch.
Thank you, I wrote that part. That was not a quote.
Ouch.
It is now, thank you. So, when these types of relationships occur over and over again, it leaves people feeling jaded, who experience this time after time. And when one relationship ends that has just given you more baggage and trauma for the next person to claim that they love until it gets to be way too much. It leaves you feeling used. So in Jennifer Goch's essay on the Manic Pixie Dream Book, she's written several. I have one linked, you should read a lot of them, they're very good. She wrote about disposable girlhood. And she says she is an ephemeral being designed for discarding when some male protagonist, a symbol of the patriarchy, has used her for her singular purpose to enrich his unremarkable life and prepare him for a bright, fulfilled future. That's harsh, right? Well, Marla Singer said it differently, and this was kind of harsh too. It's a bridesmaid's dress. Someone loved it intensely for one day and then tossed it, like a Christmas tree. So special, then bam, it's on the side of the road, tinsel clinging to it like a sex crime victim.
Yes.
And this was built into the slide deck that I chose whenever I decided to make this presentation. And I left the text to really hammer home, this is the most important takeaway everybody needs to remember when you leave this presentation. Please go to therapy. Everybody, my appointment's next week. Like, I'll cry, it'll be a great time. And I've got a QR code up on the screen where you can scan to get all of my sources. I've got links to articles, I've got books, I've got films, the whole thing. And who has questions?